Well, hello, ladies. So, what you don't know that I know at the beginning of this recording is this is take number 2. Not because I want to do 2 takes, not because I didn't like the last one. I don't actually ever rewatch them. However, it's because I deleted the one I made already. So, what I really want to say is there's no devotional today. But I don't want to not do something, so I'm just going to kind of briefly go over what I talked about last time, and I just have to trust that what you need to hear will make it in. So there's that. The homework today is on page 44 and 45, and I kind of just selected a couple that I would talk about. The first one is the very first question of today's homework. And Joe Saxton says, Paul chooses to persevere in his life, knowing the suffering he is experiencing now has both a purpose and an ending. I think that's really important, that he's focusing and he's remembering that the suffering, so whatever you're going through right now, it has both a purpose and an ending. You don't know the ending and you don't know the purpose. Sometimes you might think you have an idea of either. Some cases, situations, you have more and you have less. But ultimately, we can rest in the fact that there is a purpose and that there is an ending. She asked out of that, when has it been difficult for you to persevere in following Jesus? And what helped keep you going? And at first, to be honest, I struggled with that because I felt like it was more in the sense of like that you quit following Jesus altogether. And I realized that the Lord was like, that's not what it is. As I started writing down my answer and thinking it through, for me, it's difficult for me to persevere in my following of him, to stay faithful in my following of him, which looks like staying close to him. You know, I love the picture of we have a black lab and her name's Katie, and she is over the moon about my husband. She loves him. He loves her. They spend every day together. She goes to work with him every day. They're rarely apart, and she loves him so much. But, you know, when when they're traveling somewhere, especially, you know, when my husband's working or busy and moving quickly, she almost doesn't even look up and around at what's going on. She is locked in on his feet, and she just stays right behind him and follows him. And it takes quite a bit to kind of lose her focus from following his feet and where he's going. And in that, so what I'm saying is, in our persevering to follow Jesus, what keeps us from doing that? And for me, it's busyness. Like 100%, that's what happens, busyness. And then she says, what helps you to keep going, keep following him? And for me, that's intentionality. So I have to be super, super intentional. So it just looks like whatever you're doing, wherever you're at. Like even right now, just knowing that he's with us. He's with me right here. And he's right there with you. Wherever you're at, whatever's happening, whatever's really great and whatever's really horrible, he's with you. And it's important. It's not just a pithy statement. It's not just like out there in faraway spaces. Like, he's with you. And why does that matter? It matters because he knows everything, sees everything, has access to everything. He is in control. He's not surprised or shocked, or nothing is outside of his understanding. He's all knowing and all capable. And he's with you. And I just encourage us, take moments and just stop and be with him. Take moments, just right then and there. God, we welcome you. We welcome your presence. I welcome you here with me. And Lord, I thank you that you are there with my sister as she's watching this. You're with her. You've not left. You're not forsaking her. You're not just working in the places that seem spiritual, but you're in her life, with her children, in her marriage, in her workplace, in her finances. God, we love you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being with us. So then the next question, I kind of jump over to the next section in the middle of the page where there's a little paragraph, and she wrote, Paul goes on to encourage the Philippians to live up to what they have already attained. And we kind of talked about that a couple days ago. And she says, meaning he wants them to walk in the maturity of those who've already been saved by Jesus. So what she's saying here is everything you need is in your salvation in him. You don't lack anything you need. Now, you might lack things that cause you to push into him. You know, the Bible tells us that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. It's like, I don't give to my husband something that's going to pull him away from me. But sometimes I expect him to come to me so that I can talk to him, or I have a gift for him. Well, I need to see him to give him that gift, or, you know, whichever it is. So it's knowing that in Jesus, whatever you're in, I don't care what situation you are in, he has everything you need for that said situation. The hard one, the scary one, the one you think that God has quit working in. He has what you need to be and look like him in that situation. So she goes on to say, out of that, the question is, what in your experience marks someone as a mature believer in Jesus? And in what ways has God matured you as you have followed him? So number one, I thought about a few things, like what is the evidence of a mature believer? And you know, like there's so many things, like powerful prayer life, or they love the word of God, or you know, they go to church, or they're a giver, or they open their home, or they feed the homeless, or whatever it is. There's all these great things. But I think this thing that I feel like is the most important, my answer here is fruit. They have a life of fruit. Because I'm telling you, to me, this is the wisest, safest, most sure evidence of a mature believer. They have fruit. They look like him. They are not perfect, but they have fruit. They're growing, they're transforming. The fruit of the Spirit is evident. In Galatians, you know, love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, all of these things, that they're evident. Or the big one, self-control. Like that one, I say the big one, but that's just because that means so much to me. She asked, what is ways that God has matured you as you followed him? And like, I just wrote some big ones to me, and they tie right into self-control. I'm less reactionary. I'm less panicked. So I don't just like kind of jump to something. I'm comfortable with people disagreeing with me. I used to really struggle if someone disagreed. I felt like there needed to be a right or a wrong, and that was the only way that I could interact. And if they were wrong, I just had to figure out how to be nice to them because I wanted to look like Jesus. If I was wrong, I felt like I had to be nice to them to figure out that I'm right, or that I'm wrong, or, you know, just all of those things. And I just realized that like Jesus is the only one that's always right and like never wrong. So there's just a grace I can have. So that is what I feel like God's worked in me. And I believe when I'm looking for someone to emulate my life out or after, besides Jesus, so like heroes in the faith and that I can look to and kind of learn and glean from, they have fruit. They have fruit. So the last question I wanted to address there was on the next page, 45, the top one. It says, she writes, for all the positive examples we have of mature Christians, there are still some we shouldn't follow. Paul talks about them in this passage, but he says so with a tender heart towards them. That is huge. Let's disagree when we need to, but let's do it with a tender heart. Like when people's opinions are different than yours, let's remember their opinions. And even if it's strong and true, let's remember we can still have a tender heart towards those that we're not following. In regards to opinions, I mean, used to you had to really know someone and be close to them, or at least interact with them in some way to find out what their opinion is. And now we literally live on a diet of opinions. We turn on the TV, it's opinion after opinion. We scroll opinion after opinion after opinion. And the thing is it's okay if we're at a place where we can handle someone differing from us and their opinions aren't all coming in and getting us all weirded out. But just keeping that in mind, that even let's just say, even it's not just an opinion, it's like a true matter, like truth and not truth. Have a tender heart. They're deceived. They just be gentle, have a tender heart. Like Paul said, he wept. He was to tears that they were not following Christ. So let that be in us. And she asked out of that, what could it look like to have Paul's attitude towards those who aren't pursuing Jesus? So this tender heart, what could that look like? And I wrote powerful. It's so powerful. And here's where I wanted to land, because I wrote love. It's evidence. It shows when you have a tender heart. There's no reason to have a tender heart unless you have compassion born out of a space of love. But what I wrote is, this is what's important and what God's showing me. Fruit displayed can be tasted, right? The Bible says to taste and see that the Lord is good. What can someone taste? What can they see if we don't display something, if we don't have something out there for them to taste of and see that he's good? I mean, why are we any different than anyone else unless we have the fruit of the Spirit on our life that someone can taste and see? Otherwise, they might praise us for being great instead of him for being great. So let's be fruitful. And she goes on, and we're dealing with eternity and keeping the light of eternity, kind of helping us frame everything. And so here's some things I just wanted to share. I was really vulnerable if you were with us the other night, and kind of shared a little bit about this, but not in a big, great way. But I have been having kind of bumping up some anxiety coming up, which is weird because I don't really feel like overwhelmed or whatever by the coronavirus or COVID or anything that. It's just kind of some other things that are all layering on top of each other. And so sometimes we feel like, in light of eternity, that makes me feel overwhelmed. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. Eternity, don't talk to me about eternity. I'm not ready for that. But let me say it this way. Maybe that we're not thinking of it that way, but not in light of what am I doing like with my life, but maybe more of like, what am I doing in this moment? Do I look like Jesus in this moment? Do I interact with my loved one like him in this moment? Man, I need to grow in this. I really do. And I am aiming. That's my aim. But eternity is keeping my aim there because it matters. It matters how I handle a situation. The word tells us that, all our words are written. So one, I want to think about that when I interact with someone. But two, man, when I blow it, I've got to get back there and be like, I'm sorry. That was not right, and I heard it said, maybe they'll be disappointed in the fact that we didn't behave the way they wanted, but man, at least they'll know that we know we messed up. At least they can say she's at least got the integrity to come back to me. So in light of that, so I'm just saying eternity helping us know what's in the moment, because we don't want to rule that we do this way or this thing. And that doesn't mean we don't have routines and patterns. But Jesus is preeminent in all of them, so we stop. Maybe you're doing the dishes or cooking dinner or driving down the road, and it's not like, it doesn't have to be a big, long, drawn-out thing. Maybe you just say, Jesus, what are you thinking about in this moment about my situation? How should I look at this from your perspective? Or, you're making a decision and not making it so, I have to have an exact way, but just leaning in and saying, just, I trust you. You're guiding me. I'm going to know what I need when I need it. And I believe that's because he's a good father. And that's where we find our peace. Just like the child that's at peace to play and have fun until someone tells him otherwise, someone tells her otherwise. When the father says, hey, come in, or, whichever's happening there, when we obey, we have to realize that We'll be where we need to be when we need to be there. We'll know what we need to know when we arrive. We'll have the resources we need when we need, or they'll be available when we need them. All the needs will be provided for. You'll know where and when and how and be equipped for each of those situations. So focus in on him on the right now moment. Don't try to, yes, there's a great time to sit down and have like an elongated time with him, but he's with us right here, right now. So let eternity guide what your right now moment looks like. To be with him, to do the thing that's right there. And then trust him with the outcome. See, the beauty is our yes is what he asks for. The outcome is all on him. So anyway, that's what I want to share with you. It's funny, it took kind of a turn from what I tried to share with you in the last video, so apparently this is the one that's what he needs, and in Jesus' name, I don't delete it. So have a great night. If you're going to be joining us, tonight's not our regular Bible study night. It's just for any women that want to meet and connect and encourage and build and be built. So that's what tonight's about, but otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Bye.